Again, everyone, our female entrepreneurs worldwide community in here, this online mentoring sessions with the project, as you know, hashtag #AskFeelAnything. We will connect industry experts with the community so they can get direct mentoring. As you know, my name is Yamilette, and I'm going to be your host again today. I'm the founder of Louder. Thank you for being here, Rachel, and I see Ashley. We want you to interact. So if you want to ask any questions to our speaker, please tap it in the chat box or raise a hand so you can ask directly. Today's theme is how to collaborate with sports brands. And Angela Leung, she's our speaker. She's from the UK, entrepreneur and a businesswoman who opened at 26 two clinics with only 200 quid. So in November 2019, she decided to relocate here in Hong Kong. And now she's a physiotherapist and also clinical director in a very established clinic in Central. Also, she has been featured in the South China Morning Post, and her video has been viewed for all around Asia and more with 1.3 million views. She believes to teach people with her social media and educate them how to live pain-free. So she's going to teach us a little bit more about that too, and how to collaborate with interesting sports brands. So how are you, Angela? I'm very, very happy to see you today.
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming in and listening to me talk.
And obviously not everybody knows, but we are in the same building. Funny enough, with this day and age, Angela is in the 5th floor and I'm in the 11th floor, and we can still connect and be part of this wonderful community. I want to start with, why don't you tell us, how did you decide to get into physiotherapy? What interested you?
So I actually, before, I never really knew much about physio as a young child. And actually, when I was 16, I decided I really was interested in muscles, bones, and how the body works. And it all stemmed from a really good teacher of mine who used to teach me PE. And she made the body sound really interesting. So I thought, okay, what can I do that revolves around the body, muscles, bones, and all these things. And I looked into physiotherapy. And then I took part in some work experiences in hospitals and things. And then I broke my ankle. And that's kind of what propelled me into the world of physio. I broke my ankle playing netball, and I ended up having some physio. I have to say, not very good physio at the time. And I didn't actually recover. And that was what started making me think, could I do it better at 17? And that's what started me on this journey.
It's so funny how a lot of us entrepreneurs, when we think back and we see it in hindsight, we decide to do something because we have an issue or we had a challenge ourselves. And then we said, okay, how do I solve this challenge or issue for other people? And then you also decided to leave everything behind. As we said, you opened clinics in London with only a few couple of bucks, and then said, okay, I've done this. I'm going to pack my bags and I'm going to go to Hong Kong and start all over. Can you tell us about that journey? What ignited that part of your adventurous journey to say, I leave it all? And then how did you start here in Hong Kong?
So like Yamilette said, I was 26 and I don't come from a particularly wealthy family. So I didn't really have any backing from family financially. So at 26, I decided to, with my £200 and a fold-up massage bed that I got off eBay for like £40, I decided to set up a clinic. And I literally started from 2 patients in my first month, right? 2 people. And I was still working a full-time job, physio job. And within a year, we went from 2 patients to 120 patients, 180 patients, 200 patients. And from me, just part-time, I used to work 4 hours a week because I had no patients. And then we ended up hiring 4 or 5 staff actually by the end of my time in UK. And yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed everything I was doing. But what made me want to drop it and leave, because at the time everyone was like, oh, this sounds a bit strange. My mum passed away, which was very sad, in 2018, and I decided actually I wanted a bit of a change in environment. And for my mental health, it felt like it was the right move to make. But also I felt my life in the UK as a businesswoman was a little bit staggered. I felt like I had already achieved as much as I can out of the town that I lived in and the place that I lived in. And I understood that Hong Kong, the medical sector, is the opposite of the UK. So if you're familiar with the UK, you understand we have NHS, which is National Health Service, which is a public health service, which majority of people use. But as a private medical provider, we are slightly bottlenecked. So people would choose to use the NHS over the private sector. And that kind of made us a bit more narrow, whereas Hong Kong, it kind of flips on its head. And in Asia, the private sector is actually booming. And I thought, if I want to expand myself, I need to make a leap of faith, really, and try it out. So I sold one clinic and I closed one clinic in hopes that maybe in the future I would reopen it. So I didn't want to sell the brand. And I decided to pack up, and I didn't have a job. I had nothing to me, really. I just moved everything, and I didn't even have a job in Hong Kong. And I just came here, sent some emails, and I found myself in Central.
I have a few questions over around that topic that you're discussing now. First will be, when you were there in the UK, what attracted your clientele? What do you have a specific element or a point that you say this was the very attractive factor? The second part of my question would be, when you decided to come to Hong Kong, you sold one clinic and then you closed the other one. Why not keep it open? Was it not feasible for you to keep it open? And the third one, and I know it's a long, long question, we'll go back from that, will be, was it scary to leave it all behind and start from scratch? Because a lot of us entrepreneurs, I know that we want to jump, we have that enthusiasm and we have perhaps the confidence, but it can feel scary. So part one of my question, what attracted your previous clientele in the UK? Second, why closing and not keeping it open? Can you not have a partner there or so? And third, when you moved, was it scary and how did this feel?
So I would say what attracted my clients to my clinic was that I had a heavy sports background. I used to work for the one of the football teams, so a pro football team. And the year that I opened my clinic, I was actually their physio for their championship season. So they got promoted into the Champions League, and I was there when they were in that season, which then kind of elevated my profile a little bit in terms of that I covered high-level sports people. But I have always been someone who mainly treated everyone, general public. I've never really been someone who only treated professional athletes, because I actually really enjoy treating just the public in general. But what attracted them to my clinic was also, I decided when I first opened my clinic was that I was going to open within gyms. So I haven't explained that actually. My clinics were all based in gym chains. So I would for example, rent out 4 or 5 rooms, and I would base my clinic in that facility, which then actually, by choosing that, it meant that I had an organic audience without paying for marketing, because I was already there. So it allowed me to tap into a market of gym goers, which is big everywhere. And already have a base there, and I then utilized that as one of my selling points.
Was that normal, or was this an original idea of yours? Were there many people doing and having this strategy?
No, actually, many people would say, why didn't you buy or rent a space, which is what we would have in Hong Kong, like a whole clinic, like a room or a shop. Or if you were to open in a gym, you normally just be yourself and you open one room. It would just be like you in a room. But the reason I decided to do this was, one, it was lower risk because I didn't have much money. So I needed to have a space where I could deduct rent if I couldn't make my return. So this was a good tactic for money when you don't have a lot of it background and you don't want to put too much risk into it. But also I felt like actually these gyms already had a chain. So they already had 3 or 4 centers that they've been leasing, and they've got a long lease, right? So they're not going to run out on me. The chances of me running out on them is bigger. So if I rent their space and I utilize every single chain they have, and I open 4 or 5 clinics across the city, I was in a better position, number one, at tapping into a big market. Number two, in terms of protecting myself and my expenses.
So then we can say that this was kind of your first collaboration with the sports brands, because gyms are related to sports. Was that the reasoning behind you closing the clinic, because you were in the gym and you couldn't get someone trained, or what was the reasoning behind closing it?
So not exactly. I sold one, which was, they were all based at gyms, and one of them, I actually had a third very small one that was mainly in a golf center, but it was a small clinic. I closed one because at the time I had a buyer for my biggest one. And then in my second one, I was going to sell it. But my thoughts were that if I wanted to come back, because I wasn't sure how I was going to find Hong Kong, I was like, oh, would I do as well there? So I felt actually if I had kept that kind of free-ish, I could always return and restart it. That was one reason. And one reason why I closed it was because the way we ran it, because Hong Kong and UK is a very big distance. And when you're in the medical sector, you have to trust that if you have a receptionist or you have an admin team, that they run all the cash takings and all the finances. And it was just very difficult to manage individual clinicians so remotely. And that was one of the reasons why I closed it rather than selling the second one.
That's just such an interesting point of view and way of seeing things, right? Not being that attached to a romantic idea that, oh, this is my baby. No, you were very clear and assertive in what you wanted to get, but also you had a backup. And as you say, you made an executive decision. I don't want to put myself in some trouble that I don't want to be facing in the distance. Last question from that specific topic was fear. The fear factor of leaving it all behind and coming to a new place that you have some family members here, you speak the language, but still it's just an adventure. How did you handle this fear?
It was very scary because I actually, I've never lived in Hong Kong. I've only ever lived my life in the UK. And although my family are from here, I never known it more than holidays, right? So, and I had not been in an interview for a physiotherapy job for like 5 years, 6 years. I've not had an interview for a long time. And I was scared, actually. I was quite scared that I wasn't going to get a job. And I actually feared that people weren't going to hire me because, I don't know, I was just like, well, would they hire me? And obviously leaving everything behind, when you go from, I just bought my own house in the UK about a year before I moved. And I was going to move back here and stay with my dad for the first little while before I settle. And it was a bit of a regression in a sense. Like I felt like I was going from my own life of a car, a house, all this to regress to live with my dad. I was like, oh no, would I get on with him? And but one thing that actually really helped me was when I had an interview with a particular boss, a particular owner here, and he said to me, Angela, you're 6 months away from moving here. I messaged him in June. I moved here in November, and he was like, you're 6 months away from moving here. Like you don't need to panic hunt. You're gonna find a job. Like your credentials are so good. Like why do you worry about not finding a job? Take it easy. Come out here. Loads of clinics will offer you a job, and if we don't have a space, then another clinic will hire you. But if we do, come join us. And that when I actually then thought, yeah, you're right, actually, I'm a pretty decent physio and I think I could get a job. And yeah, he really helped me.
That's just so funny because on Tuesday, we were talking with Elena about this. Being confident and already being in the entrepreneurial journey has to do with a confidence build-up and strength. So don't be afraid you have it. Don't be afraid of jumping because you do have it and you have the credentials, as you're saying. Your first collaboration with this gym, how did that go? Like the negotiation to put your clinic in there, and how money were you paying them, some commission, or how was that negotiation for you in the past? And now you are negotiating with other type of brands in this present. So was it different because it was your first collaboration, or do you see it that moving forward, you are having similar negotiations and collaborations with the brands that you are attached to today?
So when I first decided to enter into that gym, they actually, so they said to me, would you like to, would you be interested in renting out all of our rooms? Because at first I thought, maybe a couple of rooms as I got started. And I sensed a little bit of, they wanted me more than I wanted them, in a sense, right? I kind of had this, I felt that the power in the situation. And at first they said to me, what we'll do is, we'll rent you the space, but after you see 100 clients, you need to give us X cut. So they were like, you need to give us, I think it was like 40% of each cut that you get per month. And I said, no, I can't do that. So I said to them, no, that's not feasible, because I'm looking at, if I see 200 people a month, I'm not going to give you 45% of the last 100 and pay you rent. They were offering these ridiculous negotiation offers. And I just said to them, and this is the point where I decided for myself, was I was confident that I would find a better place. And if you want me here, then these are what I'm going to offer you. Take it or leave it. That was my approach. You either I take 100% or I don't rent here. And they were quick to be like, oh, sure, you can rent here. We won't take the cut. So it was actually quite an easy negotiation in that sense for the first one.
That's so interesting, because I think that it had all to do with that confidence, and that you do have the backup of saying, if you do want me, there's going to be someone else that wants me. But that also has to do with your own research, I believe, that you were confident because you knew things were out there for you.
Yes. And I knew that if they didn't take me on, I would find another space. And I truly believe that, I think the thing that I always drive on for myself is, I always believe that I'm an asset to wherever I put into, because I think my expertise, not in a cocky way, but just in terms of my expertise, is what I've achieved. And I believe that I'm good. So I think, if you really want me, then this is what I'm offering. And I don't need to completely throw everything into the basket just out of fear, and out of fear of rejection or fear of not getting the deal.
Yeah, that's the thing that we all battle a lot when we are in this entrepreneurship journey. Oh, we want to do everything and say yes to everything, but we have mentioned that we need that balance between yes or no. Once you arrived to Hong Kong, everything new, how did you start to grow your network and get noticed?
So when I got to Hong Kong, I didn't know anyone. I just kind of knew the people I worked with. And so this is when I dabbled into social media. So in the UK, I didn't really, because I had a very little time, I didn't really spend much time investing in my social media platforms. So I had Instagram, I had Facebook, I had a Twitter account, but I didn't really use it. So when I got to Hong Kong, because I had a bit more time on my hands, I thought, you know what I'll do? I changed a bit of my website, because I always had my own branded website. Despite continuing to work in Hong Kong for a clinic, I still had my own brand website open. I just changed all the details into Hong Kong. And what I did was I started to establish my Instagram platform, and that was where I first started. And I started to develop some content on there. And I started reaching out to local Hong Kong influencers who were within the sports realm. So personal trainers, yoga teachers, all the people that I felt had a good following. I did a bit of research and I started reaching out to them. Was my first port of networking.
Is this the way that you got the interview with the South China Morning Post, or did they come to you, or you came to them?
No, so actually it was funny because I had already started all these collaborations with some well-known influencers in Hong Kong. And I also treated a lot of patients who worked in journalism. So for CNN, for Bloomberg, and lots of these kind of companies. And because I had started this platform, which I'll talk a little bit about later, which is all about education, my patients would utilize that platform to do the exercises that I planned for them, but also just to share and get some more kind of tips and tricks on what to do for like back pain, knee pain, whatever. And then one particular reporter, she's one of my followers on Instagram. And I think she had been for a few months, but I weren't sure. And one evening she reached out to me and following, I put up this video on, I think neck pain or something. And she said, oh, Angela, I just done this exercise at 4 a.m. because I'm covering New York. And I felt all these clicks in my neck. Thank you. She said, but I've got this neck pain. I must come and see you. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. If you want to make an appointment, here are my details. And then she came back and said to me, you know what, better yet, I'm actually the reporter for SCMP. Would you like to actually feature and we do something on working from home and neck pain? And that's how it all started. That's how I went on SCMP.
Social media. You're talking about the importance of social media and having a personal brand. I feel that a lot of us, if we are not 100% entrepreneurs and still working with a company, we have that doubt of, shall I put myself out? What is the company going to think about? But it's very important to build your own personal branding, even though you don't have that business yet, because it will connect you to people that may help you along the way. Social media importance, how important is to have a very clear message and consistent social media, especially for sports brands?
I think it's actually, I liked what you just said about exactly what I did. So like I said, I was a part of a clinic when I first started. This is before I became the clinical director. I was just a staff member, and everyone in our clinic didn't have social media, didn't have their own page. Because often you think if you were working for, say you were working for Lauder, if you're a staff member, you'd just be a part of Lauder, right? You wouldn't be John Smith, you just be the group. But what I always said was I was always me, and I always branded myself. And then through myself, I would then bring clients into the clinic where I worked. And the reason I did this was because in order to be successful, you have to also be recognizing yourself and the place you work. And then when you marry that together, that's when it becomes effective. But how effective it is for sports brands is it's very important, because they're buying into what you can bring. So your clinic is great, but your clinic has about 10 people. So how is it always, it's not always going to be you that's picked to represent that brand. But for me, I felt like having a private, my own personal social media is I can show what I'm about, and it shows me, because brands want to work with the person as well. You look at sports athletes, people who work with Steph Curry, they work with Steph Curry, they don't generally just work with his team. So that was one of the importance of making sure that you are aligning yourself.
Building up a very, very strong personality, because as you say, it's all about connections and relationships, and they do want to work with people. What would be the one-on-one with sports brands and social media? What are they looking for? Are they looking for videos? Are they looking for content that is backed up by, let's say, a study or some charts? Do they want good photos? Or how do you track them in terms of, let's talk about IG specifically. What do they want there? Do they want constant put out of content? Let's say today I have a video and tomorrow I have to have a video, or I can just be okay with a photo?
So I think for the sports realm, for physiotherapy or medical stuff, it's good to have a mix. So I post like such. I do a few educational videos, because my platform is about education, and it shows my knowledge of how to help people. And then I would then sub in every few posts or a week, I would put in what I call a showcase post, which is normally a video of me treating someone. So that would normally be a client who has who is well known or has a following. So what I would do is I would film our session. And what that does is it marries together what you do in terms of your job, like what your expertise is. So for me, it's teaching people how to be pain-free. And it also then brings in, what can she do? So, that's interesting. So it allows the brand to go, okay, this is what she does. This is what she stands for, which is rehab education. And, this is what she does day to day. So then they think, okay, so maybe then they look at the interest, right? Or do we like the showcasing of the treatments, or do we like the exercise? And that gives your viewer or your brand, the brand you want to work with, a clear idea of exactly what you do. Yeah.
Having a very clear message is so important, as you pointed out. The what plus the how. Tell me how I can be pain-free. And then they watch these videos, which is great. And in that how, when you are videotaping this, let's say influencers or celebrities, how do you make them agree? Is there perhaps they don't want their face to be shown, or they're always happy to do so?
I think a lot of the, so this is where you have to pick the right influencers. Because if you know what your brand is, you pick people that actually would be happy to feature. Because, for example, for me, I would choose influencers that are into exercise, who like to work out, who are personal trainers, or work already with brands that are around sports. So instead of me finding a makeup artist who's going to be like, oh, this is not even what my brand is, right? So for them, they're going to think, why would I want to show my face on your platform? At the same time, I also need them to show me on their platform. So if it doesn't go with what they're doing, why would they show me either? So it's really important that you need to know exactly what you are and what your message is, and then target the right people. And normally they're happy to be on the camera.
That is just so good that you said that, because it's true. We have to connect it. A few weeks back, Adriana Lika was talking about, we need to have this, how did she call it? She called it something like social juice or social enterprise, that you have to put it together, not only showcasing yourself and this person on your platform, but they have to do it on their platforms too. How do you choose the brands that you collaborate with? I mean, they're coming to you, or perhaps you're coming to them, but how do you decide this one yes, this one nay?
So I also, back on that point, is also you need to not just, so don't just go for people because they have 5 million followers. If they don't suit what you're looking at, even if they have 5 million viewers, the 5 million that are viewing their stuff is probably not within your market. So they're probably not going to visit you. So that's also another point to think about. It's not just a popularity contest. But anyway, back to your question. How do I pick between the brands? So I personally always go for brands that I like. So number one, you need to see if their ethos matches yours. So, you know, if I'm looking at recovery through exercise, I'm not going to go ask someone to buy magical beans that are they take and then you're like, oh, I'm miraculously better, right? Because it doesn't match what I'm trying to educate. So I always go with number one, do their ethos match yours? And do you believe in what they're saying as well? Because, you know, there's nothing worse than selling a shady product, as we've seen across media for, you know, in the UK and the US. If you're, you know, selling, you know, weight loss pills and things like that, you need to make sure you are also, you know, aligned with their thoughts. And then also, I mean, you can look at monetary and, you know, what they're giving you as well. So I always say the important thing is one, you like the brand, two, you align with the brand, and three is what they're offering you, whether it's money or just publicity, does it match with what they're asking you to do?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it should be a win-win. And it might not be a lot of money, but perhaps they're going to promote you a lot. And that's very important for you as a business owner. How do you differentiate in this day and age that we are talking to people on social media, on this platform online, and perhaps you are not able to meet them physically? How can you differentiate that what they're saying to you, it's good and not a little bit of a scam, or they're just saying the things that you want to hear in order for them to get your collaboration? Is there any tips that you can give us, our entrepreneurs, to know, it sounds very good, or perhaps it might not be as good, or it doesn't sound as good, but they could give a lot of extra strength to my own personal branding and my services?
I think the thing to think about is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I think that's always my go-to. But also, if they're offering you ridiculous money, and then you look at their brand and you need to look at their website, you need to do a bit of research. I'll give you an example. I was approached by two different, I don't know if I mentioned before, but I work with Theragun, which is the biggest massage gun company currently in the world. They're the competitors of Hyperice. So Theragun is like huge, it's massive. And in Asia, it's just kind of really starting to develop. So before I started working with Theragun, I was approached by a couple of different massage gun companies, because obviously physio and massage guns and stuff, we marry well together. And this one particular brand, they were saying, you know, we'll offer you lots of this money and we'll offer you 50 free products that you can hand out to your clients, which sounds really good, right? Yeah. And the gun itself looks like an average, normal massage gun. And I said, okay, let me think about it. And I went and looked at their website and I researched a little bit about their brand. And their website was just strange. Like the way it was laid out, it wasn't clear it just looked like they took bits and bobs off lots of different people's products and just mashed them together. And it just didn't make sense. And I felt like, as a brand, if your website doesn't make sense and your social media platform is really small and you've not really, the pictures looks a bit random. It looks like you've taken off stock images. I mean, it's too good to be true. So you need to reject it. If you need to research into their media, their websites, what they're telling you, does it match up what they're offering you?
So we do have to look for the little hints and the words in between the lines in order to choose great collaborations. Do you have any experience? Well, I'm sure you have any experience, but do you have any situation lately that has happened to you and you say, oh my God, this is such a great collaboration, and why?
Yeah, I would say my favorite actually is Theragun, because why I think it's such a great collaboration is that I am part of their education team, so I love the brand anyway, and I actually have always really liked it. It's like the high-end massage gun. If you've seen it, it's the triangular shaped one that like lots of F1 teams and stuff are using, and I've always loved their brand. So when we decided to work together, they said, oh, what about, I had to tell them what I could bring to their table. And they said, oh, we need someone to educate people on how to use it. So for me, it was like, whoa, like I get this product to use. I also get some commission on sales. I also get to take part in their education of learning all the products they bring out. And I get to teach not just my clients, but hotel staff, sports, like, big F45 is one of them, teaching their trainers how to use it. I get to do something I love. And it's not just about collaborating as a product. I get to do what I wanted to.
So it's also about adding value to that brand who is reaching out to you and saying, oh, we want you to not only take a pretty picture with it or a video, you add value by saying, I can also educate people how to use it, when, where, if they're not using it correctly, I guess you also tell people. So it's that added value. Tell us a little bit more about that education component that you mentioned that you do also in collaboration with the brands, but also with the sports teams.
Yeah, so I love education. That's my kind of platform. And the good thing that you need to remember is, like, I say to them, look, I'm a physio and you guys are marketing, or you guys are marketing a product, but I have the background knowledge that can make people understand how to use it to the best of their abilities, right? Because these high-end products, if you just want a massage gun, you can buy anything off the shelf. But if you really want to use a high-end product to its maximum capability, you need an expert in to teach you how to use different ways of using it, when to use it, how to use it, etc. So how I would then bring that in is by working with sports teams. I've got a ready, available community who like these products. I then go in with this product and I say, this is how you use it. And then I tell them exactly how can we enhance rugby players, football players, tennis players. How can we enhance them, and where do we use it? How long do we use it to enhance their sport particularly?
Oh, the power of community. I always say this is why we love female entrepreneurs worldwide, because it's all about community and supporting each other. Once you have a couple of brands in your portfolio, what do you do? How do you keep track of all of them and make sure that you service them the way that they want, with the quality that they want?
So you do have to find out exactly, you need to set out the ground rules at the beginning. So you need to know what they want from you. Okay. So if they're saying, right, I would like you to post X amount of posts when I come out with a new product, make sure you know what they want, because you don't want to do a disservice to them, because you also need to make sure you are doing what they've agreed to pay you for. But you also don't want to sign up with brands that are overtaking your page. I think that's one thing, is your followers don't want to see you posting about, Nike every day. You need to mix and match it a little bit. If I've got a few different companies, I need to make sure that I am spreading it out and I'm not boring, because actually the most important people on my Instagram is my followers. It's not the brand. My followers are more important than the brands I work with. I think that's what we need to remember. Our customers are our main the people we need to look after. So we need to make sure that they are actually getting content that is useful. First and foremost, before we just go, oh, this is a product, you know, we need to also make this product useful for them, especially on an education basis.
They don't get jealous if they see that you're collaborating with a lot of brands and they say, no, Mimi, I want to be the first, I want to be the only. How do you manage that?
I think they know, like, if you are already, I think you have to also not be collaborating with the same product, but for like different brands. So I can't be collaborating with 5 massage gun companies if I'm going to collaborate with Theragun. So this is where your picking and choosing needs to come into play. It's because if you know you love for sports, if you say you like a particular brand of shoes, okay, for powerlifting, because I recently got into powerlifting. So say I really like a particular pair of shoes and I really believe in that. I can't suddenly be representing Nike, Puma, Adidas, you know, everyone, because it doesn't work. So you do need to also go with one thing you like and don't oversaturate one particular product with millions of things just because they're paying you.
Yeah, that's so important. We see it a lot in the space because people just want to say yes to everything and they just only think perhaps about the monetary component. If you were to give us one, let's say, tip or one phrase or one element on what are real sport brands looking for with the person or the business that they want to collaborate, just one, what would be the top?
My top tip would be, if you want to get good sports brands, is I'll say one tip. Okay, first, really know what you're about. Okay, so really decide what you're trying to sell and how you're trying to portray yourself first. Okay, so know your realm, and then once you know that, then you need to stick to it. I think that's one thing, is stick to it and really stick to what you started with and not start changing, becoming a chameleon because you want money or you want brands or you want to increase your following. Stick with what you really want to do, because in the long run, that's what you're going to do. So you need to make sure that actually you know what you want to do, and don't pick anything too narrow, but don't pick anything too broad. Be a bit more niche, but stick to it.
And from the point of view of the sports brands, what are they looking for if we were to say one thing? Is this clarity that you're saying that the collaborator will have, or if there's any other thing are they really, really looking for celebrity status, or they want to have, as you said, a more niche market?
I think brands, they would be looking for someone who, I say my top thing would be, let me try and think how I can word this. I don't think celebrity is the biggest thing in Hong Kong anyway, in Asia for sports stuff. I think it's actually your personality is really big, because if they seen what you're like and they like you as a person, even if your following isn't huge, they will collaborate with you. So don't try and be someone else, be you, and show your personality in your social media. Show them who you are. You know, if you're not someone who takes, you know, my videos are very basic. I use my iPhone. I only just recently got a ring light, you know, like got a ring light now, but I only recently got a ring light. Mine was so simple, but just that's me. Like, I'm just not someone who takes lovely, beautiful pictures. I'm just not very good at it. So if you showcase your personality, they like you, they like you.
Does it take a lot of time of you to create this social media content? Because as you say, you have your ring light now and you're shooting everything with your iPhone. And a lot of us, I feel, we think, oh, it has to be perfect. And until it's not perfect, I don't put it out there. But then there's the other side that people are saying, doesn't matter, as long as you put content out there, it's okay. So is there a balance, or one side or the other? What do you normally do?
I tend to mix. So whenever I post videos of exercises, I try and make it so you can see what I'm doing, number one, but I don't try and overcomplicate it. Like, I don't film on a GXZ, whatever cameras they're called, you know, and I don't have like millions of professional lighting. I have my phone and I film, because ultimately I'm education. I'm not trying to be a movie maker, right? And I see these people who film beautiful, and I get really jealous of people's beautiful videos. I'm like, oh, it looks so cool. Like, but I don't feel like that fits who I am. So my videos tend to be more kind of like vloggy, personal style. But what I do is I then mix in photos. So whenever I do just a photo, most of my stuff are videos, but if I do a photo of me, like for example with Theragun or with a product, or just like a like, hey, this is me, happy Merry Christmas, you know, that kind of thing, then I would take a pretty photo on top of a mountain in a nice restaurant, glass of wine, you know. That's when I make it look nice. So then you have that kind of mix of my personality in my videos, but also just something pretty for people to go, oh, that's a nice photo. So you're not just looking like, you know, just a random video all the time.
Have you had any bad collaborations or any people that have come to you and you're like, okay, I decided to say yes, but in between the collaboration, you decided that it wasn't a great idea?
Yes, I actually did. When I was in the UK, one of my first ones was I collaborated with a chair. This sounds really weird. A brand that made a particular chair that was meant to stop you from getting back pain. So it was like a rock style, like a rocking horse style chair.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
I've seen that.
like that. And I met them at a physiotherapy fair, and they said, oh yeah, I really like what you're doing. Could we collaborate with you? And they gave me like a few free chairs and stuff. And, you know, and I thought, yeah, this sounds really good. Like, it sounds really cool. But, you know, my problem was I didn't think about how it was going to fit my brand either, because why it didn't go well was because they wanted me to market their chair as a back pain eliminating product. Whereas I don't really believe in that kind of thing. Like, I don't think there is a product that will eliminate back pain completely, because it's back pain is so, like, pain is that we talked about earlier, but pain is so multifactorial. It's not just I buy this magic ball and I'm going to be pain free. So suddenly we didn't match. Like, how can I be treating someone with physio for back pain at the same time be collaborating with a chair that claims to remove back pain? And that was a bad choice for me on my end.
Yeah, you weren't following, as you said, your ethos, and
No.
it didn't work. Were you in that situation? Did you go to them and say, you know, I said yes, and now I have to back up, or it's just you didn't even start a collaboration at all?
They gave me some free stuff, and they also gave me they gave me a little bit of money to start with, which I actually did do some work for them. But I just told them, you know what, actually I don't think this is going to work with us long term, and I offered to return all the products. But for them, they were just like, keep it, you know. And it just became a chair in my office that my clients sat on, and if they really like it, then I'll give them a link to buy it from. But I offered to return everything, because I did feel bad as well, because it was my own fault, you know. I signed up to do it and realized it didn't fit with what I did. And but that's life. And I think sometimes you got to put your hands up and say, you know, it's not for me. Even if they were offering millions of pounds, how can I marry my own ethos with that? It just wouldn't work.
Just being honest and transparent and not being afraid. We go back to the same point of the beginning, that we all make mistakes, but it's okay to say no. And the moment in time, if it's not working for you anymore. And I guess they also see that, right? They see the personality, they see that you're being transparent and honest. And perhaps that's why they didn't get mad and they offered you for you to keep the chair.
Yeah.
When it comes to sports brands here in Asia, and getting those collaborations. Let's say I'm a new entrepreneur in the sports world. How do I get my first collaboration? Is there any difference between doing that here and doing that in the West, like in the UK?
I think actually Asia is a better platform for a lot of us, actually saying that, because Asia is still a little bit behind on the social media platform compared to the West. I guess there's maybe just a little bit behind in terms of how people use it. So like Instagram and YouTube and stuff, there's still less of them versus kind of in relation. So I would say for Asia, the key is, number one, establish your own grounding first. So what you need to do is have a basis on your own social media. So you need to build up a slight platform. Okay, don't go in, open an account and start contacting brands and be like, hey, can I represent Nike? Like, they're gonna be like, no. So build something first. So have a bit of ground laying. And then you need to, I would then say the next level is collaborate with individuals who are already collaborating with the things you want to collaborate with. So if I collaborate with John, and John is already a part of let's say he's already a part of Nike training, and I want to collaborate with Nike, I need to also show Nike that the people they trust already to represent their brand trust me, right? So I need to have a basis that is going to attract John. I then need to reach out to John and tell him how I would benefit him. So again, I need to match with what I'm trying to sell, get them on board so they are also advocates for you and what you do. And then you've got a platform to say, hey, Nike, look, I already work with 5 of your ambassadors and they like me, and here's some stuff that I've done. So now I would like to represent you, but within what I do. So I'm not going to represent Nike as their runner, because I'm not their runner. I will represent Nike as how can I use Nike in physio, right? Or whatever brand that you're looking at. So you need to go layers. Don't just go from 0 to 100.
Well, it sounds like we have to ask a lot. And a lot of us are very afraid of asking. And we say, oh, what are they going to think? Or what are they going to say? But we already have the no to start with, right? So why not go and ask and try to push it and pivot? How do you pivot this business in this timing of the pandemic? Has the situation, the global situation, opened more doors for you to collaborate with brands perhaps that are not here in Asia? Or is more difficult because you really have to be based somewhere?
No, I don't think so. I think as long as that company has an Asia base, of course, if you're based in Asia, don't collaborate with products that are only sold in America, because your Asian audience will not be able to tap into that. So I don't think being in Asia limits us. In terms of the pandemic, for me, it's actually opened a lot of doors, because actually within the pandemic, everyone has actually stopped to think about their health, and they stopped to think about actually what does health mean to us. And unfortunately, or fortunately for me, working from home has been a bit of a godsend to some medical professionals, but a bit of a nightmare to others. And I'm sure you guys all know working from home is not the best setup often if you come from an office background. And lots of people have arisen with different issues since working from home, like neck pain, back pain, or whatever. So in this time, actually, being a physio and working with certain brands that are complementary to what I do has been actually really easy to market.
True. Seeing and seizing the opportunities in connecting with those people and asking. Before I open the floor to our members to ask any questions, I want to ask you, my last question would be, what would be the number one thing or sentiment you want to leave our audience with today? What is the must they need to remember in order to start their brand collaborations, or with whatever, if they're already collaborating with some sports brands, how can they open more opportunities with them?
Okay, I would say for everyone is to know, number one, what you're targeting first. Just remember that for foremost, but also don't be scared to ask. I think we said this earlier, communication is the key, because you're going to need to message lots of brands that fit what you want to do, and you're probably going to get rejected lots of times, right? I've been rejected lots of times trying to work with certain brands, and they actually allowed me to work with them the second time round, the third time round, the fourth time round, but I never stopped asking. And a no isn't a no forever. You can turn a no into a yes if you keep trying, but try and tell them why they should work with you. Don't just send them the same message every month. Actually show them, hey, I know you said no last time, but this is what I can bring. So be confident in yourself, know what you bring to the table, and pick the right brands. So that would be my takeaway.
That's wonderful. I love that. I really, really love that. And it's true. And no, it's not a permanently no all the time. We just have to ask again and again. Open the floor for questions. Rachel, you are here in Asia now. You want to know more about brand collaborations. Do you have any questions, or anybody else? We have Samuel, Ines, Nia, Anna. I see Ashley. She's actually connecting all the way from Mexico. And any questions?
Well, I can start off. Thank you so much for the information and insights, Angela. It's great to hear from you. I just was wondering how your marketing and networking approach has evolved, moving from the West in the UK and then moving to Asia, and now in the COVID kind of virtual times.
Okay, so I think one big thing that's changed for me in the last nearly 2 years now is I've realized in Asia, everything moves a lot faster. And people don't like to read loads of information. Like people like to see just 2 lines and they know exactly what you're trying to do. So I would say the evolution for me is when I'm marketing something and I'm actually going to market that post or that particular thing, I keep the caption and what I write really short, and I just hashtag into the right places, but I keep the caption short. That's because people can see exactly what you're doing without having to scroll. So that's one thing. And also, actually, in Asia, I've realized people also like to listen because it's quicker. So I tend to do more audio stuff than I used to do, where I used to write a lot. So I actually speak over my videos rather than just write the instructions, because even I don't have time to do that. So I wouldn't read it. So I would do what I would like. I would rather listen.
For sure. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I think that's so true. And now Instagram has even introduced the automatic captions on videos, which is nice. So I think it helps influencers and people on social media speed up their posting a little bit, because then the captions are already there and you don't have to worry about writing everything out for audio learners versus a visual learner.
Yeah, the down point of the audio caption is sometimes they can't understand what I'm saying. I don't know if it's my accent, because I'm a bit lazy with my T's and things. So my very, very, very rough English accent. So sometimes they don't know what I'm saying, and I read the caption and I'm like, oh, that isn't what I said.
Yeah. Gotta love technology. Perfect. Well, thank you so much,
Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. That's funny. Yeah, it has to do with their accents, right? Anybody else? Please don't be shy to ask a question to Angela. Do you consider yourself an influencer?
I always say no. I always consider myself as just a physio, first and foremost. I think I'm an influencer maybe within the physio realm, because people in the physio place know me, but no, I don't think I'd ever want to become just an influencer. I still want to be as a physio. That's my most important thing. My social media is just,
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, my Siri started talking to me. My social media is just another part of help for what I do, to help others.
That's good, because I'm wondering if some of your patients, they go to you and they say, now you are promoting all these brands and you have all these collaborations. Does it make you less qualified to work on me? Do you ever have people questioning that?
I think sometimes people say, like, because I work with a brand called Perskindle, which is actually a like a pain relief gel that people can put on, or ice cold spray and stuff when they finish exercise or they've got a bit of neck pain or whatever. And they contacted me a few times before I accepted them. And I have lots of like PR packages that they send me that I put on my side that I give out to people. And sometimes my patients say like, does this actually work? Or are you just giving me this because you work with them? And they do ask me that sometimes. And I always say, well, number one, I'm like, well, take it or leave it. But number two, I say, well, if I'd never work with something that I don't like, and I think if you can, and you know, lots of stuff that I do, I don't just promote the product, I promote it in use. So people know that I'm not just like taking money and just going, oh, here's this. I also say, this is how I would use it. So that increases your credibility.
I guess it's a little bit like doctors, right? That they want to promote certain medicines and some of them not. Yeah. Well, this has been so interesting, and it's new for me too, because even if I was a ballerina many, many years ago, and I had to go to physio many times, I still have, because of all the things that happened in my ballet time. But it has been very, very interesting to see how your take on brand collaboration, and that it has to be very structured. You have to have a plan, have backups, don't be scared of asking, and enjoy the ride, enjoy what you're doing on those collaborations. You have to believe in what you're doing in order to sell it and sound, look natural. Everybody, thank you for attending today this hashtag Ask You Anything online session. Remember, you ask, we answer. We'll see you again next week, and the week after, and the week after, for more expertise in sharing, learning, connecting, and networking with you. Thank you to the Few members, Few team, and everybody that was here with me today on this online stage. My name is Yamilette. I'll see you next time. Thank you.